now call upon Mr. Michel Setan. Mr. Michel, he has worked in the semiconductor industry for over 10 years, and he founded his company in the year 2001 to work on the wireless sensor, and the company now has customers in 22 countries. That is an amazing number, and focuses on the Internet of Things and the solutions to be useful. Over to Michel.
I'll start by saying that I come from the semiconductor industry, and to me, the standardization doesn't mean anything. Imagine what the memory looked like 15 years ago. It was a diskette, and then we moved to CDs and DVDs, and now you can have a micro SD. So it's really, things change so quickly that it's hard to imagine what is going to be possible 5 years from now. The other thing is that also I don't like the word standardization because for patients it's meaningless. A diabetic patient that is 15 years old has completely different needs than a 16-year-old. So I will talk about what we have done for mobile health in the field. We make sensors that we deliver to NGOs and hospitals, combine them with mobile phones, and what are the needs? Well, a basic sensor, such as a pulse oximeter, it was invented 25 years ago only, and it's routine now in many surgeries, but it's very rarely deployed. Not because of its cost, but just because it's too bulky, it has wires. So look at the needs for pulse oximeters. The World Health Organization indicated that they estimated that we need over 70,000 pulse oximeters just for surgeries. And there are lots of people that could be helped if there were more oximeters available. So I will skip that quickly, but it indicates that basically developing countries or emerging countries, they've skipped the hospital and everybody going to a hospital to be treated. And so there are many opportunities for actually personalization of healthcare, and instead of taking patients to the point of care, taking the point of care to where the people need it. And that's what we try to do every day. So this is what we have come up with. We take solar bags, backpacks with a solar panel, and inside the solar panel charges a small battery, and you can use this battery. It has a standard micro USB device, plug, so you can use this to charge a mobile phone and the devices. So the devices that we make are in ECG, like the one that was shown before, pulse oximeter, as I said, blood pressure monitor, thermometer. We also make a peak flow for asthma. And the information is sent via Bluetooth to a mobile phone, then it's transmitted over the cloud to a distant server. So what is nothing special about that, because there are lots of Bluetooth sensors, but it's not just enough about making a Bluetooth sensor. You have to really think about the whole system, like, is the software easy to install? What if people change phones, because people do change phones every 18 months or so. So you want them to be able to use only Nokia phones, or is it supposed to work on Android phones and iPhones when they get cheaper? So the idea is to really think about making it interoperable and be able to evolve, because both software and technology evolves too quickly now to just say, oh, we've tested this solution 2 years ago and it worked great. Well, if it worked 2 years ago, it's probably obsolete by now. And people, they want to change not only phones, they want to be able to change mobile providers, so not be tied to one provider, because then if the provider increases their prices, then what do? They have to stay with that provider. That's not right. So, and on the other side, you need to have two-way communication. So two-way communication is not just voice. It means that you need to be able to remotely activate or control the sensors. So if, for example, a person doesn't know how to use the sensor, you have to be able to help them from a distance. And also, you need to be able to provide with training that's for people that are illiterate. So for example, for gestational diabetes, we make little video clips of 2 minutes to explain pregnant women what is gestational diabetes about. So it doesn't have to always be seen from a doctor's point of view, but more from a patient's point of view. Okay, so this again describes what's in a sense pack, and it's modular, because for example, if a nurse goes to one village, they may want to be able to do some screening for high blood pressure, so they don't need to have all the devices in the backpack, and also things, as you know, chronic disease do evolve, so some diabetics, they may develop high blood pressure in a later stage as their disease evolves, comorbidity. In terms of software, I think what was said before is very important. It has to be as open as possible, open source. So we use as much as possible solutions that are open source, like Java, MySQL, PHP. Of course, security is important, so we need to have the same level of security as, for example, banking. So there are protocols like HTTPS. It's good enough for banking, so it should be good enough for mobile health. We don't need to invent yet another standard. And also, what is more important is that we cannot ourselves, or even if we are part of a group with a mobile operator and an ISP or whatever, we cannot imagine what other people have in mind. So we have to provide APIs so that developers can develop their own solution. I mean, I was in the session before and people kept talking about SMS and sending SMS for medication reminders and stuff like that, but nobody talked about social networking. Nobody talked about Twitter. And I can tell you that a 15-year-old diabetic, they want their data to be sent by Twitter to their parents. So I think there's still a lot of creative thinking that has to go about how to integrate mobile health with social networking. And I'm sure there will be things that will evolve very quickly in that field. So this is just an example. We are doing a pilot with an NGO called eHealth Points in India, in Punjab. So we really test the sense packs and our devices in various conditions. So we've tested them in Nepal, and also now we're testing them like in ambulance services, and we are based in the Alps. So they are testing the use of wireless sensors in helicopters that rescue people that are mountain rescue. So as much as possible, when it comes to standardization, one thing that we are sure is that solutions need to be web-based. We don't know if it's going to be HTML5, 6, or 7, or 7.2, or whatever. But the difference between developing applications on mobile that are native solutions versus something that is web-based is that if it's native, you have to test it with every single phone that comes out. And they have different screens and they have different functionality. One thing is for sure is that, 3 years from now, a phone will have a browser. We don't know if it will be running Android 5.2. I don't know, but what we're sure is that it will have a browser. So it has to be browser-based. It has to be also browser-based because you want to be able to access information that is stored in the cloud. So cloud computing, now storage is for free, almost for free, and it really enables rapid scalability. So you can test something, on a limited scale, maybe 50, 100 users, and then when you're ready, you can quickly scale up. You don't need to wait for big companies like Tata, Docomo, or Orange to be able to provide a useful mobile health solution. And also, what is important beyond security is that you need to be able to provide an audit trail of activity. Who has access to your data? And you need also to be able to provide temporary access to data. Because you may have a condition that requires a specialist to be able to access your data for 2 months. And then once you get better, you may decide, I don't want him or her to see my data anymore. So to conclude, we try to approach the mHealth problem from a system point of view, both from a hardware point of view, so things that are wireless using Bluetooth or Wi-Fi so they can communicate with mobile phone. Modular solutions because there are no standard patients and there can be what I call continuity of care, so something that would be used as for example, a fetal monitoring. It can continue, later on to be used for something else. We try to focus on standards like the Bluetooth medical profile and for interoperability using web services. And I think social applications will really put the patients at the center of the ecosystem. And one last thing is that I really think that from a sustainability point of view, power is going to be important. So if we can use solar power as much as we can, why not? And also, it was clearly shown before that mobile health does reduce costs. And I think that as more and more cities are trying to reduce their debts, cities and if not countries, I think mobile health is a very good and quick way of trying to stabilize the healthcare expenditure. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. How much is the starting cost for this one sense pack?
The sense pack, it depends on how many devices you want. But for example, the glucometer, we use, for example, LifeScan standard glucometer off the shelf. So the glucometer itself is something like $18, and then the Bluetooth interface is maybe 60 or 70. The pulse oximeter is, depending on the quantity, it's anywhere between $120 to $185. So all in all, let's say if you want our goal, if you want a sense pack with the basics, so blood pressure, pulse oximeter, thermometer, 12 lead ECG. Our goal is to sell that with the backpack, so the backpack for maximum $850 for everything. So I would say, depending on the configuration, it should range anywhere between $500 to $850. Yeah, if right now we manufacture in France, and if we could manufacture in Asia, it would be a lot less. And we also, starting to change the business model so that instead of people purchasing it up front, they can pay, like over 2 years, they can pay $1.50 a day, and after 2 years it's theirs.
I have more questions, but let us open it to the floor. Any more questions? Two questions we can take.
Healthcare data being social. I have read that healthcare data theft is much more costlier than financial data theft, for $2 billion every year. Like insurance companies doing analytics on patient health record, and they either denying insurance or switching your policies or increasing your premium. It's dangerous thing for an individual. Why would you recommend socializing healthcare?
Okay. No, I don't recommend using social network.
If I were to, I'm set up in a personally controlled.
Yeah, it has
PHR,
to be. It has to be personal health records, not electronic health records. You need to be in control of who sees the data and when. And today it's doable. Your neighbor or your accountant, I mean, if you have a company, like my accountant doesn't have access to my bank account. I give him what he needs to know, and it should be the same for your health insurance. They need to know. Actually, there are more and more insurance companies that tell their people, if you use a glucometer and you report your glycemic values 2-3 times a day, we don't care whether the average is 165 or 120, and if your HbA1c is 7.2 or 8, they don't care. What they want is people to be taking action to monitor themselves better, because they know that in the end, every patient that I meet, the only thing that is common is that they say, I want to get better. They don't care how, they don't care if it's with a BlackBerry, they don't care. They want to get better. And smart insurers, they lower the premium if people take better care of themselves. That's all.
Maybe I can.
It looks there is a disconnect actually. What he was asking, what we understood, as I understood, is you are advocating socializing the medical records of individuals. No.
Earlier session of Flory was talking about
Probably
social media.
That's not the concept. No, what these people or others are all suggesting is you make use of the benefits of the social media to create the awareness or to increase the penetration of the technologies. Definitely not for putting the personal records on the web for the...
And there are a lot of portals out there, to diabetes or NGO or something like that, where people register and socialize about.
Okay, that's an individual station. That's the probably you can say
There are
that
a
is...
lot of platforms like that. It's no more secure data or protected data.
Yeah.
Right? You can always protect it, but people are socializing about it. Is it a good practice or a bad practice?
Yeah. That is probably one of the reasons for the Google PHR to go down. Google has announced they are going off the service from next year.
Public healthcare or
The P is for personal, not public. That's the thing. So
That's actually a very important topic. I think if you study on the social networks and health, it is the next thing which is coming up. So there is a very seminal paper by Michael Christakis, if you follow social networking and healthcare. So this paper is from US, where they followed 20 years the Framingham Heart Study, and this has been proven scientifically is obesity travels us like virus. So if you stay amongst 5 obese people, you are much more at high risk of getting obese. Now there is a fundamental difference between India and US when it comes to social networks. Indians are a much more collective society. You don't mind sharing your health data, this and that. So actually this concept has been leveraged much more now, like Facebook, Patient Like Me, creating communities which are social communities which can collectively cut down diabetes, blood pressure, good food habits and exercise and all that.
That's not great. I'm just
And,
talking about
but absolutely on your side, whenever a PHR has to be successful, that's why, in my talk I said earlier is security and privacy of health data is of paramount importance. That's where public cloud is going to take, difficult to get into this unless regulations are put. But PHR is the way to go, but security layer has to be put on it. So we can take the good side of social media and also be careful about not having data thefts. I think that's what Michael wanted to say.
I request Mr. Satish to hand over a token of appreciation to Michelle.